Hey folks, Eric here, the whatever guy, because it really is whatever for me. And do you folks want to know about these House Democrats pushing the committee to reduce regulatory restrictions on hemp growers? You guys stick around and I'll talk to you about that. As you guys know me, my name is Eric. I am the whatever guy, and I usually shoot videos a couple days a week, basically trying to make it easier to understand the ever-changing world of the hemp and cannabis niche as we see it. As you guys know, man, there's just a lot of fucking confusing information out there and a lot of legal speak and stuff like that. My goal is to break it down for you guys in a much easier way for you to understand, so that we can get the news and we can at least make the actions, or at least guide ourselves in the way we want to go in this industry. Sitting here bullshitting around on an early, I think it's Thursday morning, early in the morning, sitting here hitting all these THC-A ice diamonds from over at Herbs. I've had this on my pen since I think Friday. Super good. As you guys can see, there's only a little bit left out of it, probably about a gram. This is super good, man. You can really tap this about 2 or 3 times. I'm normally taking about 25 milligrams of Delta 8 gummy first thing in the morning, and then I'm bumping something like this the rest of the day, and it makes me a more congenial person. Obviously easier to deal with and much easier for me to deal with, everyday things that are going on in my life. Also, I was talking to Alan Sermon over at Oz City Labs. You guys can go over to ozcity.com. That's OSCITY.com. They're actually having a big giveaway over there. And these are the gummies that I actually take first thing in the morning. I normally take 25 milligrams, 25 to 30 milligrams of Delta 8 gummy first thing in the morning. Makes me, like I said, makes me a more congenial person. These are what I've been hitting on the last couple of weeks. But the cool thing about Oz City is they've got quite a few different gummies over there. They've got these sleep gummies. They've got these calm gummies. They've got some energetic gummies. And they've got these Delta 8, and they've got some Delta 8 chocolates. They are a really good extraction facility over in Foley, Alabama. It's about an hour from me. But they're having a big giveaway, man. They're going to be giving away 7 tubs of these gummies of your choice, whichever choice of gummies you want, over there at Oz City. And I'll get the information on that, and we'll see about putting that down in the comments, and you guys can get on that, man, because these are super fucking good gummies. And it would be really cool if somebody from my channel was able to win those seven tubs of gummies over there. All right, so we're going to switch over to an article over here at Marijuana Moment. This article over here basically states, as I've said before, we've done quite a few articles on the Farm Bill talking about what's going to happen here. And my argument up to this point, guys, has been that there's been nobody in the hemp industry that is basically helping us up at that level. It seems that everybody that is pushing everything going on at that level is tobacco, alcohol, and obviously big cannabis. Now, my argument has always been that big cannabis seems to be going in the same direction, and everybody in the hemp industry is just going in different directions and trying to get as much money as they can. But my argument also has always been that if we don't get on the same page, if we don't get somebody up there that is speaking our speak, we're gonna find ourselves in a really bad position later on. This is the first article that I've seen in the last 6 months that has anything positive to say about the hemp industry. As far as the alcohol, tobacco, and the marijuana industry goes, they want to kill it and they want to take it over. If they want to kill THCA flower, that's a big thing. We talked about that yesterday or the day before in the video, and we've said it many times before. You can buy THCA across the counter, but you can also go down to the medical marijuana dispensary, and those medical marijuana people are also pushing THCA. So they obviously see the benefit of it, but they don't want you coming to see us to get any type of relief. They want to control it, and I can see where their argument is. If you spend these millions of dollars to take these, to pay for these applications and take these senators out to eat and all these bribes and all this shit that you do behind closed doors, they're not going to want you to come see me to get any type of relief. They're going to want you to come see them. And I can see both ends of the argument. But if we're not careful, we could find ourselves in a position where someone like me would be completely out of this business all the way around if they are able to, the tobacco and obviously the alcohol, if they're able to get their way, they would basically kill it for everybody else, and force you guys into a position where you would have to pay these exorbitant fees, go pay for an application, go get approved, and be on some fucking state list or government watch list for the fact that you do these type of products. As it stands right now, if you can buy THCA from me, I don't give a fuck who you are. As long as you're over 21 years old, I am not submitting your information to any type of government regulatory commission. But that's the way we stand right now. And if we're not careful, big marijuana will take over this portion of it. They will kill the minor cannabinoid space, and any minor cannabinoids or any type of THCA or anything we would get in the future would have to come from them after we pay all these fees, these $300 application fees, go to see a doctor and all this other crap just to get stuff that we are currently purchasing over the counter right now without a license. This is a pro-business center-left group of House Democrat lawmakers is pushing to use the next farm bill to reduce regulatory burdens on industrial hemp growers. Here's the thing, guys. The federal government has basically stated that anytime a hemp plant or a hemp and cannabis plant are basically the same plant. But according to the government, if that hemp plant, cannabis plant, has less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC on a dry weight basis, they consider that plant to be hemp. Now, here's the thing. For a marijuana plant to be viable, for it to provide the type of benefits that you're looking for, that percentage of THC on the cannabis side would have to be up around 11 or 12%. And there's a big difference. There's a big wide gap between 0.3% and 11%. When you grow a hemp plant, it's hard to incorporate, how much THC is going to be in that plant when it comes out the ground. So what's happening is a lot of these, hemp growers, they're growing hemp and it's falling in between the 0.3 and the 11%, and they can't remediate it. So they're having to destroy their whole crops. And it's basically a big time financial burden for those guys. They're not getting any money for that. It's not good for the marijuana industry because you can't smoke and get high off of it. And it's obviously not good for the hemp industry because it doesn't fall under that 0.3% Delta 9 THC rate. And that in and of itself creates a situation where a lot of these hemp farmers are having to destroy their crops. A new Democrat coalition, which is comprised of nearly 100 House members and describes itself as united behind a mission to build an economy that works for every American, released an endorsement slate on Monday that lays out policy priorities as lawmakers begin to craft the 2023 Farm Bill. One of the 44 bills they want to incorporate in the Industrial Hemp Act from Representative Matt Rosendale and Chrissy Houlihan. Hemp and its derivatives like CBD that contain no more than 3% THC by dry weight basis were legalized under the 2018 Farm Bill, and regulatory responsibility falls within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The pending reform bill seeks to create a distinction between industrial hemp that's grown for products like fiber and hemp for any purpose, which would cover crops cultivated to extract cannabinoids like CBD. Farmers who cultivate industrial hemp would no longer be subject to background checks in order to participate in the market, and they wouldn't have to fulfill rigorous sampling and testing requirements. That's where the argument is right there. That rigorous sampling and testing requirements is really what kills those farmers before they ever get to a point where they can harvest. Because once they get to that sampling portion of the plant, there's really nothing else they can do with it. It's already growing, and if it's got 6% THC in it, it's not good for hemp, and obviously it's not good for marijuana, and it falls into a position where they've got to do something with it. Instead, they would simply have to go through an annual visual inspection where they would need to demonstrate that they're growing the crop for a purpose covered under the new industrial hemp definition. If they failed the initial visual review, they would then need to provide documentation demonstrating a clear intent and in-field practices consistent with the designation of industrial hemp. Only if they refuse to do so would regulators then be empowered to physically test harvested plant material. So what they're basically saying is they want to change it to a point where if these guys are striving towards hemp, if their goal, if their sole focus is to grow hemp, and that's what they're showing these agriculture people, then they would be safe. They want to release that burden of sampling on the other side so that they don't have to possibly kill that crop of plants. They can go into some sort of remediation and try to figure out a way to get that down below the 0.3% threshold. The measure, a Senate companion version of which is being led by Senators John Tester and Mike Braun, also preempts states and tribes from enacting requirements on industrial hemp growers that are most stringent than those laid out in the bill. It further provides that anyone who knowingly produces hemp crops that are inconsistent with their designation will be ineligible to participate in the legal hemp industry for a period of 5 years. So basically what they're saying is they go out there and they look at your fucking crop and you're going in the right direction, but then they find out later on that you're kind of straying off left and right. What they would do is basically suspend you for 5 years. You wouldn't be able to do anything in the industry for 5 years. And I can agree with that. New Dems will continue working diligently with our colleagues in both parties and with stakeholders to advance a farm bill that includes these endorsed bills and rejects efforts to undermine investments in America's agricultural future, the caucus's Farm Bill Task Force leaders said in a statement. This is likely not the only piece of hemp-related legislation that lawmakers will seek to attach to the next large-scale agricultural bill. The hemp market saw a significant decline in value last year, according to the USDA, and stakeholders have cited a number of recent proposals as candidates to address the issue and build on the crop's legalization under the current Farm Bill. The Food and Drug Administration has taken significant blame for the economic downturn, which stakeholders faulting the agency for not enacting regulations that would allow for the marketing of hemp-derived cannabinoids in dietary supplements and food products. FDA said it needed further congressional action to develop such rules. And that's the argument. Like right now in the state of Alabama, we are in a legal battle with the state health department. They are basically claiming that CBD infused products are illegal in the state, and they are basically citing the Food and Drug Administration because of that, because their inability, their inaction, they're not willing to get to a point where we can regulate these products. That's basically the issue here. The Food and Drug Administration needs to get to a point where we can regulate these regulate these hemp products that is viable for both industries. Because what's happening, they saw a significant decline in the value last year, simply because a lot of those hemp farmers that are getting in the market are getting their crops up, and they're 6-7% delta 9 THC. And like I said, that's not a viable marijuana plant, and it's not a viable hemp plant, so they're having to destroy their crops. And all these stakeholders, these people that have been putting money into hemp all this time, are now finding out that the market is shrinking, and they're not getting the return on their money that they thought they were going to get. A report last month from the Congressional Research Service detailed challenges facing the nation's hemp industry, highlighting FDA's determination as a contributor to the market decline. In July, bipartisan and bicameral lawmakers filed legislation that would remove regulatory barriers that FDA claims prevent it from allowing CBD sales in the food supply or dietary supplements. A recent House subcommittee hearing specifically focused on the impact of the lack of FDA rules, and a separate pair of bicameral health committees has solicited expert input on the issues as they consider potential legislative fixes. Guys, this is the first time in probably 6 months that I have seen any news or anybody having anything good to say as far as fighting for what's going on in the hemp market. And it's interesting that it's actually the Democrats that are doing it. It's not some sort of outside force. All the outside forces that are pushing against the hemp are basically outside forces. These are Conra, marijuana, big guys, the alcohol big guys, the tobacco big guys. Those guys are the ones that are basically outside, writing these letters to Congress, forcing them into a position where they've got to make a clear distinction between hemp and marijuana, and get it into a position where they either control it or they kill it, or certainly make it to where you can't get these products like this over the counter. As I've said many times before, you can literally watch it. As these states start to legalize recreational marijuana, you will soon find and follow behind it that the Delta 8 and the minor cannabinoid space is being banned. Okay, but at the same time, if you were to walk into one of those medical marijuana dispensaries, you could legally buy those minor cannabinoids from inside that medical dispensary after you paid for that $300 license, and you spend another $150 to go to a doctor and spend all that time to get your medical records together. It just makes no sense to me. All right, folks, this is Thewhateverguy signing off. I hope everybody appreciates it. I hope I broke it down where you guys can understand it, and I will talk to you guys later, man. Love you. See ya.